Hi everyone and welcome to this new video. Today I'm going to talk about 3 things I'm looking forward to as a James Bond film. But first of all, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last video. It was much appreciated and it was lovely to read all of your comments. Now, because I just started this channel, I thought it was a nice opportunity to learn more about me, who I am and what I like about James Bond. So I'm mostly going to talk about things that are happening in the upcoming year. Well, at least I hope they're happening in the upcoming year. Of course I'm hyped for Bond 26, but we simply don't know when we'll see Bond 26, so... And by hoping to be announced, I think the 5th of October would be a great moment to announce the new 007. This is one of the rare occasions we're in between 00s and it's the first time I can actually realize it. The last time we were in this position in the franchise, I was just a little kid who couldn't read, so I didn't really know what was going on in the world. And the funny thing is, the last time I learned we had a new James Bond, I was, well, a typical Dutch kid who was on his bicycle in front of a traffic light, and a friend and a father of mine joined me while waiting for the traffic light. And he told me, "Hey Gosse, do you know, the new James Bond is blonde, just like you." And I don't think that the next time a new James Bond is announced, it will happen in quite a similar way. If you ask me, they should go for Richard Madden. I think he's not too famous, and he's exactly the type of person the producers are looking for. And what I mean by that, he's not too well known, and he's not unknown, but he does have this classic Bond facial features, and he's really Fleming-esque if you ask me. He really clicked with me as Bond when I saw him in 1917, and I think he had a really Bondian vibe around him, and I also really liked him in Game of Thrones. He has some sort of ruthlessness I think the producers are looking for. And if it isn't him, I just hope it's someone I don't know. I can't really imagine one of the regular names we see so often, and I think a fresh face really helps the new Bond settling into his new role. I think it's Spectre, maybe even Skyfall, where he talks about person of color portraying James Bond. Honestly, that's fine by me, I really don't care. Barbara and Michael do the screen test, and if they test a person of color who's the best James Bond, then I'll believe them. However, I do think Bond should be male. If you want strong females, then create strong female characters. I mean, we do have a lot of them in the series. You got Natalia, Xenia, Pussy Galore, Fiona Volpe. There's so many strong characters. So even Moneypenny really has a transition in Skyfall, Spectre and No Time to Die, I think. Anyway, let it be Richard Madden or someone I don't know, and it will be totally fine by me.
Too bad. The game is over, Mr. Bond.
I think it's just begun.
There are 2 reasons I'm very much looking forward to Project 007. The first being an actual James Bond game, and I love them. They're the reason I became a James Bond fan. Because I started playing Everything or Nothing as a 5-year-old. So there's this great love I feel for the later EA games and maybe even Activision games. Not sure about those. I like them, I guess. The other thing I love about Bond games is that we actually get to play as James Bond. I love the James Bond lifestyle, and being a Bond fan for me is trying to be inspired by him and his way of living. So how to replicate that in a better way than to seeing the world through Bond's eyes. So the main story I think will be very interesting because IO mainly talks about the new Bond origin story. First, I didn't really know what to think of this. I mean, half the Craig era is basically a James Bond origin story. And we even get to play Casino Royale in the Quantum of Solace video game. So we've played that story, we already know how it went. Then there's the Forever and a Day prequel written by Anthony Horowitz a few years ago. But I can't imagine IO Interactive will base a game on a book. And I have nothing against Horowitz. I really like his James Bond novels. I just don't see it happen, and I think it's quite self-explanatory. Then there's the fact I think they'll go back in time because of multiple reasons. The present is already the world of the cinematic James Bond. Having 2 different 007s at the same time featuring in the present seems weird to me, and I also don't think Eon Productions want to compete to their own James Bond, even if it is a video game. So when IO Interactive goes back in time, there's this clear difference between the video game James Bond and the current film actor James Bond. Like there's this gap between them. And let's be honest, some of the best moments in For Russia With Love, I think, are the ones that are created by EA. Because EA really combined all those elements of the 60s, and I think the 60s is very Bondian. Of course there's the Aston Martin DB5, but also the jetpack, the locations, the set design. Something about that period, it just oozes James Bond. Now the question is, what will they do story-wise? As I said, I don't think Casino Royale itself is an option, but there is this small segment in the novel when Bond is talking to Mathis, and he's explaining about how he received his 00. I think it's really interesting. Bond frowned. It's not difficult to get a 00 number if you're prepared to kill people, he said. That's all the meaning it has. It's nothing to be particularly proud of. I got the corpses of a Japanese cipher expert in New York and a Norwegian double agent in Stockholm to thank for being a 00. In the stretch, it's unseen Fleming material. Like, literally, we don't know what happened because Fleming never described it except for these 4 or 5 sentences. Why not have a pre-title sequence with James Bond as a commander in the Royal Navy? And maybe even some of his World War II missions. Then we have a title sequence, and that's where the story of Ian Fleming comes in. And maybe after the pre-title sequence, Bond gets asked by the Secret Service to help with a special mission. And he doesn't know what it is, but he does excel. So as a result, M gives him 2 tasks. One of them is to kill the cipher expert in New York, and the other one is to kill the Norwegian double agent. We haven't seen any of this, and it's still true to Fleming. It's fresh and it does fit the story, so I think it's the only way they can actually do something that doesn't feel related to Casino Royale or isn't tiresome because we've already seen it. In my eyes, this would be the most perfect scenario. This is probably the most important one on this list. It's about creating new Bond experiences, adventures and memories. Because the last year I really learned how special it is when you celebrate together. Honestly, I don't watch the James Bond films nearly as much as I used to, but I'm getting way more enjoyment out of being a James Bond fan just because I'm talking with other fans about Bond and about the world he's in. By sharing my ideas in these videos, going on Bond trips, etc., it's just the celebration of James Bond that's really important to me. One of the first time I actually experienced this was in 2014 when I was with my father and we went to London. And there's something very special about stepping into that James Bond world, about meeting the people Bond can possibly meet, about seeing the world through his eyes. I went to the No Time to Die premiere last year and it really was a dream come true. I never thought I'd actually be at a James Bond premiere, to see Daniel Craig in real life, to meet other Bond fans, to talk about Bond as much as I did, and I really cherish those moments. Then are also the little things I look forward to. For example, Ian Fleming Publications themselves will publish all the books and I think that will be very interesting. I hope they'll go by the original covers, but I don't think they can right-wise, but we'll see. Bond in Motion will come to Brussels, which is nice, because now I don't have to take a 4 or 5 hour train ride to get through London. I can actually drive myself, which is nice for a change. And maybe there will even be a new Blu-ray, 4K set or anything with all 25 James Bond films. Long story short, the nice thing as a James Bond fan is there are always things to look forward to, no matter how long it takes. So on that positive note, I'd like to end this video. Only one more thing. Unfortunately, my Dr. No review got blocked and I had to re-upload it because of a copyright strike. It isn't the worst thing in the world, but if your comment isn't there anymore, you now know why. However, I'm very grateful for anyone who commented, liked, anything. So with that being it, please like this video if you enjoyed it. You can subscribe down below, it'd be lovely. And thanks, until next time. Then there's the fact I think... Hey, god.